there was an election in British Columbia. Also called the Liberal Party, but they weren't liberal in the British sense. They were conservative and not even liberal in the Canadian sense. But anyway, the Liberal Party lost their majority, and the two opposition parties, the NDP and the Greens, agreed to form a government. But instead of resigning straight away, the incumbent premier, she decided to test the confidence of the lower house. So she stayed on until there was a throne speech, which is the government's legislative agenda. And then a couple of days after that, the then opposition leader proposed a motion of no confidence. That was then passed. The Premier then went to see the Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, and she asked for a dissolution of the legislature and so for an election to be held. However, the Lieutenant Governor independently exercised their power to reject that advice. So the Lieutenant Governor said, no, I refuse to dissolve the legislature on the grounds of, one, it is clear that an alternative government can be formed from the existing legislature, and two, well, we just had an election. So it would not be ideal to go straight back to the voters when it's obvious that an alternative government can be formed. Now, if the situation is slightly different, if there was no alternative government that can be formed, then there may have been no other option. So it does all depend on the circumstances in which we find ourselves. So to go back to Tasmania, as yet we don't know the answer to this, but we are still left with the possibility that the Lieutenant Governor, so not even the Governor, but the Lieutenant Governor, could independently exercise some of the reserve powers, in that if the Premier loses, if the government loses the vote of no confidence, they don't have to follow what the Premier says. So the Premier may ask for a dissolution, and one may be granted, because the current numbers of the House Assembly, it's not clear that Labour could necessarily form a government. But the Premier may decide, the Lieutenant Governor or the Governor, if they reappear, they may decide that they have to at least allow the opportunity for an alternative government to form, because the previous election was only 14 or 15 months ago into a 4-year term.